happened that the king, being an inimitable jester, had 3 privy councillors who were accomplished jokers as well. Yes. You shall do wonderfully well. Oh. See what a wonderful jester he is? Bring yourself forward. And you. Wonderful.
Oh, Fred! Wonderful privy councillors.
Stand here with your king. And you, a marvelous privy councillor. Bring yourself forward. Stand with your king on either side. As I said, they were wonderful jesters as well. You have a jest, sir. Of course you do.
Of course you do.
Remember, the king laughs.
Why don't sea monsters eat jesters?
Did everyone hear that?
Say it again much louder.
Why don't sea monsters eat jesters?
I don't know. Why don't sea monsters eat jesters?
Because they taste funny.
Oh, the king laughed!
Did the king laugh? Of course he did.
And whenever the king laughs, his privy councillors laugh as well.
Let us hear the king laugh.
Laugh, king! Oh! For if they did not laugh, the king would cut off their heads. You have a jest.
Come with me.
Oh, he suddenly looks to me, ma'am.
I must say, today must be their off day.
What do you get with 50 male deers and 50 pigs? 100,000 bucks.
1,000 bucks. Oh, this was terrible.
100,000 bucks.
Yes.
And the king laughed. And you, sir, you do have a jest, don't you?
I'm sure she has one for me.
Fortunately for him, I do.
What do sea monsters eat?
Look to him for the answer.
Does anyone know what do sea monsters eat?
Fish and ships.
And the king laughed. And his privy councillor as well.
I think the king is crying at that one.
So as you can see, the king and his wonderful 3 privy councillors always wish to be humoured. And because of this, their court retained a jester. Don't you remember Hop Frog? That's you. Bring yourself forward, Hop Frog. They need a jest. In a very, very severe way.
Trippetta, tell us all what Hop Frog looked like.
The name Hop Frog was not that name conferred to him upon his birth. It was given to him by the 3 privy councillors and the king, because of his inability to walk as other men do. Hop Frog, as a jester, gave the king and his court a triplicate pleasure, in that not only was he a jester, but he was also a dwarf and a cripple. His walk was sort of an interjectional gait, a cross between a leap and a wriggle. Show them, Hop Frog, don't you remember? Leap, wriggle, leap, wriggle. You must do it. That will jog your memory, I'm certain.
Looks more like a chicken frog.
Needless to say, this was an inimitable amount of humor for the king and his privy councillors.
Yes.
Therefore, the name Hop Frog was conferred upon. As were Hop Frog and myself, Trippetta, were taken from our homes at a very young age by a victorious general and given to the king as a present. One evening the king decided, on a grand state occasion, to have a masquerade. And when the king decided to have a masquerade, it was always his intention to bring upon the talents of Hop Frog and myself. For Hop Frog was very, very wonderful at getting up novel characters and costumes and pageants for masquerades. Weren't you, Hop Frog?
Yes. Oh, he remembers now.
Hitting the ballroom was left to me. Come on, Hop Frog. Leap and wriggle, there you are, most wonderfully well. The night of the masquerade descended. Everything was prepared. The ballroom was fitted up under my eyes, most beautifully well, of course. What is my lord? Every decision was made about costumes and pageants. At least you would think so. Everyone was ready, except for the king and his privy councillors, who could not make up their mind what characters they wanted to be. So they sent for Hop Frog and myself.
Come on.
And who else? The privy councillors, you are with him. Hop Frog and myself found the king at wine with his 3 privy councillors. And he was in very, he was in very ill humor. Where's your drink?
There.
This is for you. What I hope will someday be seen as my masterpiece work. Entitled The Rendition.
Drink this.
Louder, king. Remember, you're a boisterous man.
Drink this. Or to the,
I think he's had enough to drink already.
the health of your absent friends.
The king knew that Hop Frog did not like wine, for it excited his brain to a point of almost madness. But it always was a wonderful jest for the king to make him drink. Hereupon he offered Hop Frog again.
Hop Frog. Drink this.
Hop Frog, of course, did not want to take it. And he said no.
Drink this.
Hop Frog taking the goblet, tears brimming in his eyes, bitter tears falling into his drink, took a sip of the wine.
Just pretend you don't know where that's been.
The king laughed, and the privy councillors as well laughed. For at that point, almost instantaneously, the wine went to Hop Frog's head, and his eyes gleamed.
Characters. We want characters.
Yes, we need characters.
Yes, we need characters.
Extraordinary characters.
I'm endeavoring to think of something.
What? You need more wine. Drink.
Once again, Hop Frog tried his best to get up a jest so that the king wouldn't make him drink. But he failed, and the king forced him.
Drink or else.
At that point, I threw myself between Hop Frog and the king. Please, spare my friend, please. The king laughed. And so did his privy councillor. And he pushed me down. Took the goblet from Hop Frog and threw the wine in my face. So you can not
Trusting.
I got up the best I could and took my position behind Hop Frog, who at this point was very angered. Angered to sobriety.
At that instant in which you pushed the girl and threw the wine in her face, I had a capital idea.
Oh, marvelous. Tell us.
Tell us.
Tell us.
Tell us.
Tell us.
It is a capital diversion, one from my country. And we use it for 4 people.
What? What hot frog?
I need 4 people.
Here we are. Here we are.
Oh.
It is called the 4-chain orangutan.
Oh, yes, that marvelous country frolic. And it required 4 to be chained orangutans. The effect was they were to be dressed as orangutans with chains and were to seem as though they had escaped en masse from their keepers and burst upon the masquerade. The king and his privy councillors delighted in this idea, and they went off with Hop Frog to prepare themselves for the masquerade that evening. Leap and wriggle, leap and wriggle, leap and wriggle. Oh, Hop Frog!